Now, talkSPORT understands Antonio Conte has been sounded out about taking charge of United if they part company with Solskjaer. Joining us now to discuss the matter and take on further is the Sun's Manchester United football writer Neil Custis. Neil, a very good morning. How are you this morning, Neil?
Hi, good morning, Ali. Good.
Thanks for joining us, Neil. Neil, we're obviously going back. This is an ongoing story. I didn't speak to you yesterday, but initially, what were your thoughts on what can only be described really as a debacle from United's point of view at the weekend?
Well, I've covered them for 22 years now, and that was the most disgraceful performance I've ever seen. They've been beaten in the past. I've seen them lose to teams like Lille and away in France when the fans turned on them, but it always hurt. And it didn't look like it hurt on Sunday. The collective lack of effort, the downing of tools, the abdication of responsibility, Ronaldo, whacking that ball into Custis when he was on the ground, Pogba's reckless foul. It was just a total abdication of responsibility. I've never seen anything like it. It would never have happened. Well, it hasn't happened in the past. There has been poor performances, but nothing like this. This was just the the beginning of the end, really. And I hear what those callers were saying. I think Ollie was right for the job at the time he was given it, and I think he's done a good job. But I think he's now hit a brick wall, and he's put United back on. I think he's put United back on track as a club. It's got its DNA back, its history, and everything like that. Which he's tapped into to put it back on track. But it's hit a brick wall, and I think in this country we look at people like Sir Alex Ferguson, who went on for 27 years, and Brian Clough, who was manager at Nottingham Forest for however long that was, 15 years, and we think that's the norm. But abroad, it's not the norm. Abroad, it's like 2 seasons, 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And then you need a change, and then you need to freshen it up. And you look at what Chelsea have done, and people think Chelsea are a basket case, because they change their managers all the time, but it works.
Yes,
because you get a fresh mind and you get fresh ideas. Watford somehow seem to survive by changing the manager every 3 days. So, there just comes a time when it needs a change. It doesn't mean that Ollie Solskjaer's rubbish, and it doesn't mean that the next guy's going to be so much better. Sometimes you just need a change, you need a new voice, you need new ideas, and sometimes it just becomes a bit stale, and it's become stale.
Well, I was going to say to you, Neil, listening to you there, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking what you're saying is as much as that was a shambles at the weekend. I mean, I thought you're absolutely right to the point of Ronaldo kicking the ball, of Curtis Jones, everything, and Pogba, and I thought defensively I actually couldn't wait to see the replays of some of the goals, Neil, because I was saying to myself when the goals were getting in, where was the left back? Where was Maguire? Where were these guys?
Where was anybody?
It was incredible. But I'm listening to you, and I'm guessing, as poor as the performance was, and we can all have poor performances, do you still believe that a new manager come in with that squad and maybe take them to another level? Yes.
Well, yes, in the same way that Jose Mourinho took over Louis van Gaal's, what Louis van Gaal had left, and took them to another level. In the same way, Ollie took over from Jose Mourinho and took them to another level. I just think modern day now with the players, with big name players, big salaries, big influence in dressing rooms, what have you. I think sometimes you just need a fresh voice in the dressing room, and that just comes to, reigns just seem to now just come to a natural end. It did with Lampard at Chelsea. Lampard for Chelsea was what Ollie is to Man United in many ways, a legend, a hero. He did good things, what he did, with the progression of the young players at Chelsea. He put them on a good course, but then it needed someone else to take it on. And I think now, unfortunately, I backed Ollie from day one. I thought he was the right choice. I think the plan that him and Edward would put in place to get the club back on track was a good one and has worked. But now players are regressing. Players are getting worse. Jadon Sancho hardly plays, and he was the best wide man in Europe for the last 2 years. With these stats show, Harry Maguire is getting worse. Cristiano Ronaldo suddenly looks like, he should retire. But he shouldn't, because, nobody in football would have scored the header he scored against Atalanta the other night. So it just needs something to spark it up again. And I say that as an Ollie fan, and I say that as someone who, he's been brilliant with the media. He's a top man, but I don't want to see his legend with the football club sort of dragged through the dirt with fans turning on him or anything like that.
Neil, how important is it that Manchester United maybe then act quite quickly rather than waiting a little bit? Because obviously at the minute, as you said there seems to be a bit of a discontent between the players and the manager in terms of performance. But when you look at some of the fixtures they've got coming up as well, I mean, they're leaving points on the board by potentially leaving Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in charge of Manchester United. So how quickly do they act?
Well, I mean, they're not going to be able to do anything before the Tottenham game, I wouldn't have thought. You're not going to put Mike Phelan in charge, are you? So, I mean, it can't get worse. Well, it could get worse, but but they're playing Tottenham, so it won't get worse. And then they're playing Manchester City, so that would really, I think they would need to do something before the City game, just to, as I say, just to spark things up and get, because you always get a bounce, don't you, with a new manager, whoever he is. You always get that initial reaction and all that, and you desperately need that, because it's not about, I mean, I like the title race, forget the title race now. It's about the top four, and the longer you leave it with this rot that is set in, the further behind they're going to go.
Neil, I was going to say to you, I mean, the one thing, and you touched on it, the one thing that is not up for debate is Ollie's a thoroughly decent man, and I know he said he hasn't, and you know him well enough. Will he walk away? Could he walk away?
I mean, that question actually was put to him after the game. If it's the best for Man United, would you do it? He's still fighting his corner, saying that it's best. That they're so close to achieving what they want to achieve. Well, they were. I think they were. In terms of getting to Europa League final last season and finishing second, and you'd think there'd be progress after that. And I think they were close. But they're not anymore, and I think he could. Yeah, I genuinely think he could walk away if he looks at it this week, and it's very difficult to assess it straight after a game, when it's all emotionally charged and what have you. But maybe when he looks at it and he looks at how the players are and how they're not responding to him or his coaching staff, then he may consider that's the best thing for him and the club. So
Neil, if they do decide to maybe part ways with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, then who, in your opinion, then is probably the right man to replace it? Because obviously, of course, we've heard Zidane's name being bandied about, Conte, but who, in your opinion, would be probably the best man for the job?
Well, I think Conte, you see what he did at Chelsea, incredible, title-winning season, those broke records, goals, wins, successive wins, all this sort of thing, and it doesn't matter if he's only there for 2 years. It doesn't matter if then the next guy's only there for 2 years. What matters is that Manchester United start being competitive again in terms of trophies, in terms of, well, not just trophies, because, they won one under Louis van Gaal, although he sent the world to sleep with his football. They won two with Jose Mourinho, who did a great job, I thought. And they've come close with Ollie, but it doesn't matter if the coach changes, as long as the football club remains competitive. So Conte, for me, would be a great choice.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Laura Woods, Monday to Wednesday morning 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.